on. When you think about it, he gave you 20 points on a bad knee, on a bad will. The Milwaukee Bucks don't have what the Phoenix Suns have in Chris Paul, a true leader, somebody who knows what to do in crucial situations. But Giannis can grow into that role. He has to make his free throws, no question about it. He has to block out the noise on the road, no question about it. But for them to be able to win this championship, or even better yet, win game 2, he has to step up to the plate. I think he'll be much better than he was in game 1 because the injury, obviously, the rehabbing, the medicine that he's taking, all the different things that he's getting attention to on that knee certainly will come to fruition in game 2. So he's the most important person to me because without him on the floor, this is a totally different team on the road.
Most important player for the Bucks is not Giannis because you know what you're getting from him. The most important player for the Bucks is a guy that they need to keep out on the floor, but some people are saying he can't be out there. That's Brook Lopez. What we saw to Brook Lopez to close out the series against the Hawks was defense and low post scoring, which is a great thing to have this late in the season. We know he can do both. But in pick and roll defense, he and Bobby Portis have been exploited in game 1. And now they've got to make that adjustment. But if they take him off the floor, you lose rebounding, you lose rim protection, and you lose offense. What they need is Brook Lopez, who finished the series against the Atlanta Hawks. They need that guy. They need to figure out how to get him back playing that way while also keeping him on the floor, protecting him defensively. You know what that means? Stop switching. It doesn't make sense. In those situations, you can switch 1 through 3, maybe even 1 through 4. But you can't have Brook Lopez on an island. You can't have Bobby Portis on an island with Chris Paul licking his chops, backing up. Let me set you up. Let me get this guy one-on-one. Too much ISO. So this is not going to be about, this is about offense, yes, because if you take Brook Lopez off the floor, it will hurt you. But if you leave him on the floor, it can't hurt you defensively. That's not on Brook Lopez. That is on the coaching. That is on the scheme. They've got to figure out a way to keep him on the floor because he can help you. He'll be important in game 2.
You gave me a whole lot of butts, though, Alan. You gave me well, he's at this and he can't switch on that and he can't. So why is he even
on the coaching?
So why is he even on the floor? You're
because
telling me the defense is a problem and a liability. You're telling me about offense when Giannis healthy is giving you 30 walking blind. Hey, at the end, Giannis is always a 30-piece walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All day long.
And how'd that work out in the games he missed?
And then Middleton closes the thing out for you. When you think about Brook Lopez being on the floor and he's supposed to help you out on the defensive side, yes, it's a liability. So why would I have him on the floor when I know I got a reigning defensive player of the year on the floor, a guy who's long, who can make shots inside, bully ball on the offensive end. I'm going to get 30 plus from him when he's healthy, and I believe that he'll be 100% healthy based on what he did in game 1 and the way he looked in game 1. Carry that over to game 2. There's no way in hell I want Brook Lopez out there full time. Not even close, Alan. It's not even close.
Really? So then you missed the end of the Hawks series where he was such an important player
because
Giannis was compromised.
It was the Hawks. They play a different style than the Phoenix Suns.
They pick and roll. They do the exact same thing. You still need that. And oh, by the way, DeAndre Ayton was dominating on the board. So
and then you tell me about him on the board. You mentioned that, and I didn't even get into DeAndre Ayton, who had 20 boards.
Yep.
Okay, so what do you mean he's cleaning the glass? He's not cleaning the glass. DeAndre Ayton's cleaning the glass.
I apologize, everyone. Key was on vacation, so I don't think I'll have to catch him up on what happened in game 1.
All right, guys. You know, I'm expecting a lot of attention and focus on Chris Paul coming into this game too. So maybe we keep an eye on what Cameron Payne can do in some spurts on the court out there, and we'll be trying to figure out what's happening with Brook Lopez against the pick and roll and what the Bucks are doing as well. But what do you guys think? Who else could be an X factor defensively? What can they do to stop Chris Paul in the pick and roll?
I feel like Mike Budenholzer is actually an X factor here because, you know, I mean, I'll say it, the adjustments that he's made in the playoffs weren't adjustments he made. It's adjustments made by the other team, which is injuries happened. Kyrie Irving went out. They were getting smoked in the first 2 games of that series. He went out. Series changed to their favor. Trae Young, they couldn't stop him. He got hurt. Series changed to their favor. I don't want to see anybody else get hurt. We've had enough all-stars get hurt in the playoffs. So if nothing happens and it stays the same, all right, Mike Budenholzer, you've got to fix whatever's going on with that defense, make the adjustments. So I do think he's an X factor.
I would say Drew Holiday's got to figure out when they switch in. Is it Booker or is it Chris Paul? You know both of them got the mid-range elbow jumpers coming down. So if you can get in the face of them and harass them and pressure them, then I think that is going to be an X factor defensively for Milwaukee. outside of that, I mean, they got 3 players that right now are cooking, and that would be Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. You got to pick your poison. You can't take all 3 out.
Yeah, a lot of the time on Chris Paul, they went big, right? So you had P.J. Tucker on him. Then when they switched, you've got Lopez being exposed, Connaughton, Portis at times. Do you think the option here is to go small and not switch, perhaps, and start with a Drew Holiday who said, I've got to be more aggressive. I've got to be more assertive against Chris Paul to start.
And that means get over the screens. You know, this idea of switching is nice during the regular season because you don't wear down your guys. Not everybody wants to fight over screens all the time, and that can weigh you out. But in a playoff series now, it's basically all for everything right now for a championship. I don't know if switching all 5 makes sense. And when you're Chris Paul and you're really smart and you know, okay, this is what they're doing, great. Who's all right, Bobby Portis is guarding you. You're setting the screen because they're going to switch because that's what they're supposed to do. It's so robotic. It's so predictable. And now I've got Bobby Portis in a one-on-one. Everybody's get out of the way. And I'm playing one-on-one against Bobby Portis, who, God love him, he can't guard guards. You can't. Especially a guy like Chris Paul who can get into mid-range, get the shot he wants. They've got to get away from that concept. Don't be so stubborn and make sure it's the right thing. And that, like when Drew's saying that, that's him suggesting, Key, I've got to fight over screens. I can't just surrender in screens and just go ahead. We're going to switch. No, we've got to keep them guessing on when I'm going to go over and when I'm not.
It's only game 1, too. Let's not get caught up in it. 89% of the time, if you down 2-0, you go home without the trophy. But it's only game 1. It's only game 1. So we'll see if Budenholzer and the rest of the Milwaukee Bucks make the necessary adjustments.
And in defense of my fellow Stanford grad, Brook Lopez, I mean, in the pick and roll when he was on Chris Paul, those shots were contested. He was there. Chris Paul hit tough shots. So whether it was drop, whether it was switch, whether it was be more aggressive, try to get the ball out of Chris Paul's hands, Chris Paul was the one who was in control. So back to your point, I think it might be Coach Bud.
See, and again, of course, Roz agrees with me that Brook Lopez is a factor here. There's one win. Good.
Well, I got, one point for Allen. But I guess so all eyes are going.
Watch Giannis go for 50 tonight and they win.
Are you calling that?
And I'll remind you tomorrow.
You calling that? Okay, we'll remember that too.
Remind me tomorrow. Shocking you'd remind me.
All eyes will certainly be on the pick and roll adjustments of Coach Bud and the Bucks. And of course, all eyes are also on that other team in Wisconsin too. Will Aaron Rodgers be back in a Packers jersey?
Beautiful.
Once the season kicks off in 2 months? Keyshawn's answer next. Plus, speaking of all-world quarterbacks, guess who will be live on First Take in just a bit? Ever heard of this Patrick Mahomes guy? That's right, the Chiefs superstar joins the show. Keep it locked.
Don't start twisting my words. See, that's why I don't like to do interviews.
Shut your up.
Who scheduled this game?
I got a hell of a reputation, don't I?
I wasn't picked here to be put on the back burner.
They can't cover me. They can't cover me.
Put up awesome numbers, won a Super Bowl ring. What more can you ask for?
All that screaming.
What can you do? I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't do anything. There's nothing. We can't do. We couldn't throw. We throwing interceptions. Man.